they're coming back to gravity, something they haven't been used to for the last 9 months. How is that likely to impact them, and how much time is it likely to take them to acclimatize to gravity on Earth?
You know, typically for missions that are in under about 20 days, the rehabilitation process is about 7 days on Earth. That said, they've been up there for roughly about 9 months now. Now, NASA has had astronauts and those aboard the ISS, certainly Russian cosmonauts, in excess of a year. So this is not something that's wholly unfamiliar. That said, the human body is just not evolved to live in space. You know, it's an environment that's unprotected by Earth's atmosphere, and you mentioned the microgravity and sort of the havoc that plays in terms of bone density and plasma shifts within the body. The heart itself actually sort of changes shape a bit, and that heart actually works a lot less hard because of the lack of gravity. And just like any muscle, if you work it out less, then it just becomes weaker. And so when they're on Earth, astronauts will go through a rehabilitation process that involves both strength training, conditioning for the hopefully to restore some of that bone density, but also cardiovascular exercises to sort of ameliorate some of the conditions of the heart. You know, beyond that, they'll likely have experienced some vision problems given the fluidal shifts in their cranium, and also some balance issues. So there's a sort of a battery of rehabilitation efforts that will take place. Chances are this will go on for much longer than a week, given how long they've been up there.
Absolutely.
But hopefully everything's okay.
Indeed. And how soon do you think they could be prepared? Because an astronaut wants to go back to space, right? So that's what their longing in life is. That's what their calling is. How soon do you see them making another mission? How soon do you think their bodies, when mentally and physically, would be prepared to undertake another such mission?
Well, there's a long list of astronauts that want to go and that are sort of in line to go. So I would imagine that after this type of mission, there's a few others ahead of them if they choose to return. You know, this type of length, it would be interesting to see if they did indeed return.
Okay.
You mentioned an important point, though, that astronauts are sort of a self-selected group and they want to be up there, and so that does sort of undercut some of the psychological effects of being sort of in isolation for that period of time. That said, those effects can't be mitigated or can't necessarily be discounted. So, you know, as we sort of look to those rehabilitation efforts, the mental health aspect is certainly one to be paying attention to as well.
All right, let's leave it there, David. Thanks so much for joining me on this edition of India Global.